there was one point where the president of the university was being interviewed, and this was the gospel of, by the way, the gospel volume was the first volume done. Even though it's the last one made for the Heritage Edition, it was the first one done on the original parchment. And there was, in this, as you'll see, there's the crucifixion of Christ in the Gospel of Luke. That's where we chose the crucifixion for. And so this journalist was interviewing the president and said, I noticed in this Bible you have a crucifix. He said, yes. And the reporter said, I thought this was supposed to be an ecumenical Bible. What's that doing in there? And so he said, well, it's not a New Age Bible. It's an ecumenical Bible, but it's a Christian Bible. And that's what I mean by a Christian Bible. We were talking from our own perspective and our own faith tradition, working out, looking out, but from that source which feeds us, from that source in which we declare ourselves to be members of, and baptized members of. And so I would be, it'd be dishonest of me, going back to those 4 questions, to say that this is what we had in mind about the hermeneutics of the historical criticism and the patristic exegesis and all that, because we didn't, but we knew we were going to do a Christian Bible. Secondly, the more I went through the notes of the CIT, of our deliberations, it became more evident to me that really all those other points, questions 2 through 4, were included under question number 1. Specifically, should the Christian tradition have a role in interpreting these texts for today? I concluded that patristic exegesis, historical criticism, and deconstructionism are all part of the Christian tradition, in other words. The Christian tradition is a very broad tradition, an intellectual tradition at that too. So, if the Christian tradition is the optic, then the tradition includes patristic, historical, critical, postmodern, etc. Now, the Christian tradition, let me talk a little bit about that. The CIT's desire and mandate was to find something that could draw on the 2,000-year-old Christian tradition. Okay? The cause of this whole thing was the millennium. This was St. John's Abbey and University's Millennium Project. If you remember back in, well, how old are you people? So, I mean, if you may, oh, that's right. You can still make it. You still make it. Okay. But at the millennium, well, actually, leading up to the millennium in 1996, the question was, how are we going to commemorate the 2000th year of Christ's birth? And various parishes, religious denominations, religious houses, universities were thinking of one thing after another. And we knew that we just did not want to have yet another monument that the gardener is going to curse when he has to cut the lawn. So we wanted something that was going to endure. What was that going to be? And through a whole series of connections, it came down to doing the Bible and having Donald Jackson as the calligrapher. So that was going to be our Millennium Project. And therefore, as a Millennium Project, we were looking back on where we came from and looking forward to where we wanted to go. And so this is what we hoped. At this point in the millennium, we've gone through 2 millenniums as a Christian faith. Now we're going to go into our 3rd. What would be the best way to do that? Hey, how about a Bible? Now that's novel. You know, I mean, this is something that is part of the whole fabric and the woof and woof of the whole Christian experience. So that's what it came down to.